And we're finally back after the international break. There's 8 games to go in this championship season. How are we doing out there, folks? Are you nervous? Not me. I'm completely calm.
Push a button!
Okay, you got me. I'm very much bricking it. But we are here to do week number 39 of Championship predictions. But it is going to be a little bit different this week. I did do a predictions video for the remainder of the season that went up over the weekend. If you haven't seen it, please go and check that video out. It is linked in the top corner and down below. But for that video, I enlisted the help of a very sophisticated supercomputer to give me all of the predictions. And whilst for the other weeks, my scores will change, for this week, I'm going to be relying on their analysis and pretty much sticking to what they said. But there is going to be one exception to that rule, and it is, of course, because of my golden rule. And I have to back the yellows, because my golden rule is Oxford always win. And maybe you forgot it, but I didn't, because last time out, Oxford got that win. And my goodness, it felt like a ruddy big win. Maybe we can back it up this weekend against Middlesbrough. Oh my God, that looks a tough game. But let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into this. Let's have a look at predictions for week number 39. And we start with a cracking game at Bramall Lane for Sheffield United versus Coventry City. The Blades still on a high after their derby double over Sheffield Wednesday last time out. Chrissy Wilder was amazingly bullish in his press conference afterwards. If you haven't checked that out, I would recommend it. But it is going to be a difficult game against Frank Lampard's Sky Blues, who are still going really well in their push for the playoffs. And I feel this one is going to be a game pretty similar to what Sheffield United had against Bristol City a few weeks ago, where they take the lead, they're 1-0 up, but the opposition pegged them back. I think Coventry will get a late goal and spoil the party at Bramall Lane. I'm going to go for Sheffield United 1, Coventry City 1. Hull City versus Luton Town. Well, recently the Tigers have been great and they've moved themselves away from the relegation zone. They've started to get home wins as well. Home win over Plymouth, that's not too difficult. Home win over Oxford, that's not too difficult either. And they'll be hoping they can get it another home win over a side who's really not that too difficult to beat away from home in Luton Town. Luton's still struggling down the bottom, and I really don't have a huge amount of confidence in Matt Bloomfield's side, despite the fact Luton having a win and a draw in their last couple of games to still be in touching distance of getting out of the relegation zone. I still do think this is going to be a home win for the Tigers, and I really would like that to happen. Hull City 2, Luton Town 1. Watford versus Plymouth Argyle. Well, we know last time Watford suffered the shame of losing to Oxford United, so they get the shame bell.
Shame.
And it was a really frustrating defeat for Watford too, because they have lost ground on those playoff chasers. Plymouth, are they dead and buried at the bottom? They've still got hope, but they need to put a string of results together. And let's be fair, it looks unlikely they're going to be able to do that. Watford are a much better side at home than they are away. Plymouth are pretty much terrible away from home, but they did get an amazing win at Fratton Park. So you shouldn't rule out the Pilgrims, but from my scoreline, I clearly am. Watford are missing a few players, but I think they'll get back to winning ways. Watford 3, Plymouth Argyle 0. Burnley versus Bristol City. Again, two sides pushing at the top of the table, pretty much like the Sheffield United Coventry game. You've got Burnley pushing for the automatic spots, Bristol City pushing for those playoffs. It's been a bit of a holy grail for Bristol City to try and get in those playoffs. They're really giving it a good fist this time round and are only out of those playoffs on goal difference. But this remains one of the toughest tests in the Championship to go away to Burnley and get anything from that miserly defence. They did manage a creditable point at Bramall Lane, which can be equally tough, but I just fancy the Clarets are going to edge this one out in a very predictable Burnley scoreline. I'm going to go for Burnley 1, Bristol City 0. Middlesbrough versus Oxford United, undoubtedly the game of the weekend. I am sure you all agree. Well, if Burnley versus Bristol City was predictable, this will be anything but. Of course, I have to be beholden to my golden rule, and that is why this won't be predictable. Because I know most of you out there, most sane, logical people will have Middlesbrough down for a home banker in this game. Oxford have been next to useless away from home. And Middlesbrough, despite the fact they are remarkably inconsistent, season, they are still just 3 points off the playoffs. Last time out as well, when these two sides played, Middlesbrough absolutely destroyed Oxford United by 6-2. It was a huge nail in the Des Buckingham coffin. We just did not know it at the time. But my beloved Yellows are coming off the back of, albeit a very scrappy win over Watford. It felt a precious, a crucial, and at the time, one of the biggest wins in the club's history. That's a little bit a hyperbole for you there. But you know I'm going to do something crazy and something silly. I haven't done one of these scorelines for a while, and it leaves you scratching your head and questioning my sanity. But I don't really care. I'm going to do it. It's not going to happen in a million years. And if you do put a couple of quid on it and it happens, you'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Because get ready for this and get ready to spill your drinks or spit your drinks out, Middlesbrough fans, or maybe even Oxford fans, or maybe even fans in general. Middlesbrough 0, Oxford United 4.
No! God, please, no! No!
It's Leeds United versus Swansea City. The Whites, Leeds United, sit top of the table, but is only on goal difference from those Blades in second place. Swansea, you'd feel, are feeling pretty safe on 44 points, maybe not enough points to say they're 100% sure of not going down, but I would say they should be fine. But 2 defeats in a row for the Swans is enough to give them cause for concern, but that doesn't mean they're going to get anything away at Leeds, and I think Leeds are going to get a handsome victory here. It's been a little bit of a struggle for Leeds in recent weeks, but I think they're going to get a nice, comfortable, handsome win after the international break for Leeds United. Marching on at the summit, Leeds United 4, Swansea City 0. Cardiff City versus Sheffield Wednesday.
Come on, Wednesday!
And the Owls have had a long time to stew over that derby defeat to Sheffield United. A lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans I work with thought they played crap, but I thought it was a very similar game to what happened at Bramall Lane. Tight, either side could have nicked it. Sheffield United nicked both of them. That's just what they do. They tend to do that this season. Wednesday had their chances though, and probably a draw would have been a fair result. But that's gone now, and I have to say the home form for Danny Roll has been pretty poor all season, and that is a huge difference between what makes Wednesday a mid-table side or what could have made them a potential playoff contender. But I still don't think it's season over just yet for Sheffield Wednesday. They're only 6 points off the playoffs, but they need to get some consistency into their game, and they'll be hoping that their away form can carry them through in this one. Cardiff City will be buoyed after a win last time out, but Cardiff City are still very much struggling down just above the drop zone in 21st place, and I'll tell you what, I could really do with a Sheffield Wednesday win, and that is part of my reason why I'm going for this scoreline. Cardiff City 1, Sheffield Wednesday 3. Norwich City versus West Bromwich Albion. Well, Norwich have just been shooting themselves in the foot in recent weeks. They create so many chances in games, they just don't seem to be able to take them, and the results have tailed off as a result. 2 draws, 2 defeats, and it seems like the playoff charge is in the rearview mirror for the Canaries. But the Baggies are still going strong, clinging on to the final playoff berth by the skin of their teeth on goal difference over Bristol City. But I feel this one is going to end all square. I feel fancy Norwich to score goals at home with Josh Sargent, USA, banging them in. And I feel it's going to be another situation where Norwich have chances but don't take them, and West Brom end up pegging them back. Probably either side won't be too pleased with the point, but they both got to settle for it. Norwich City 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. Portsmouth versus Blackburn Rovers. Well, Blackburn remained a bunny for all the sides down the bottom. All the relegation-threatened teams have to play Blackburn, and they seem to beat them, and that includes my beloved Oxford in there as well. So you have to fancy Portsmouth to get the job done in this game. It's been a weird old time for Pompey in recent weeks. A magnificent win over Leeds, and you'd be thinking Portsmouth are safe in the Championship for next season, but then they go and lose to Plymouth at home and lose to Preston as well, and all of a sudden you're not too sure of what's going to happen with Pompey. But now they've had a little bit of time off to heal and recover. I do fancy Pompey to get a win in this one. The Fratton Park Roar will be in full effect, and they'll cheer them on to a narrow victory but a vital victory. Portsmouth 2, Blackburn Rovers 1. Sunderland versus Millwall. Well, Sunderland are a bit of an enigma now in this league. They're too far away from the top three to say they're going to get promoted automatically, so they've got to be settling for the playoffs, and they're really in no danger of dropping out of the playoffs as well. So it's really just keeping the engine ticking over for Reggie Labrie in these final few games of the season and making sure that they're then ready to go again once the playoffs roll around. So it makes their scorelines quite difficult to predict, and even when they were going, or when they were challenging at the top, results and scorelines recently have been a bit like pulling teeth for the Mackhams. And Millwall are a tricky customer to play against. You'd still say Millwall have got a chance of getting in the playoffs. If I'm saying Sheffield Wednesday haven't given up the ghost, you've got to say the same for Millwall. But I just feel the Lions don't score enough goals in general to be able to say they're serious contenders. And again, whilst this one is going to be torturous for the Sunderland fans, I feel they will end up edging it, and I'm going to go for a narrow win for the boys from the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 2, Millwall 1. Stoke City versus Queen's Park Rangers. Two sides really not in good form at all. Just one win and one draw for both of these sides in the last 6 games. The Super Hoops starting to look over their shoulder a little bit and worrying if they are going to have a really bad end to the season. Are they going to start being caught by the sides down the bottom? I think they're still just about fine and only probably need another win and a draw and they will be hunky-dory. But Stoke are right in the mire, just a point above the drop zone, and they don't seem to be able to get any consistency or run of results together at all. And I can just see this one being where two sides cancel each other out, and QPR's need to just get another point on the board and grind away towards the end of the season will just frustrate Stoke, and it'll end up being a very dull game. Stoke City 0, Queen's Park Rangers 0. And we end on Tuesday night with Derby County versus Preston North End. Get your peanuts and your hot dogs ready, folks, because we're off to the baseball ground. And John Eustace's Derby County have been in immense form just before the international break. It was 3 wins in a week, which has just given them a massive, to saying it's given them a shot in the arm just doesn't do it justice. It has ignited a huge fire under Derby County, and I would say their fans should be pretty bullish about their chances of staying up now. But they are still in the relegation zone, so they still are desperate for points. And I feel that Preston's FA Cup duties will come back to haunt them in this game. That is why this game's been played on Tuesday, because of Preston's FA Cup heroics. They're playing in the quarter-final, and I think Heckingbottom, with his side quite comfortable in 14th place, will put all the eggs in that quarter-final basket. And then the players will be pretty knackered once Tuesday rolls around. It will be a little bit after the Lord's Mayor's show. And I think Derby will capitalise on it. And it will be 4 wins in a row for John Eustace's men. How about that, Derby fans? You wouldn't have thought that a few weeks ago. Oxford and Portsmouth have not been able to manage that. And it would move you right behind your other 2 promoted colleagues and out of the relegation zone. So Derby end the week, which ends on Tuesday, with a win. Derby County 2, Preston North End 1. Okay, folks, that's your lot for week number 39. It's getting tense, isn't it, as we head down the stretch? Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave your comments. Let me know how you feel your side's going to do and how nervous you are for the run-in. If it's anything like me, I'm scratching my head and wondering where are the points going to come from. Oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. Oxford always win, don't they? But anyway, a little bit behind the curtain there of how I really feel. Leave your comments, as I said. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. And I'll leave it for Leonard Nimoy, as always, to see us home.
My work is done here.
What do you mean your work is done? You didn't do anything.
Didn't I?